in a way, I'm very lucky because I'm very sensitive to it. It gave me retinoid reactions all the time. I used it for about, I would say, 3 or 4 years, because my reactions drove me to look at how could I control this. First of all, I diluted it down. And I was using it about 1/10 of its concentration and still getting a retinoid reaction, because I've got that type of metabolism that I think I am very sensitive to vitamin A. So then
it's very irritating. So I think lots of people would react to this.
And I think my eureka moment came round about 1985, when I was reading up more about the physiology of retinoic acid. And then I realized that in about 1973, by then already they'd established that if you applied vitamin A you gave it to animals, they converted it through retinol palmitate, retinol to retinoic acid.
Yep. And retinoic acid's that metabolically active form of vitamin A. So that's the one that we need to make the changes, but we don't need to torch our skin by putting it on and getting that irritation.
Well, how I saw it this way, and it's quite nice, because later on in life I would write a book called Your Skin Factory.
Yes.
Now, what I realized in 1985, I realized that every cell was a factory to convert cosmetic vitamin A into medical vitamin A, the retinoic acid.
Yeah.
And the thing is this, that because it's all happening inside the cells, the retinoic acid is not irritating the walls. The retinol is not irritating the walls of your cells.
Yeah.
So you go from the retinol palmitate or retinol esters through to retinol, and then on to retinol and retinoic acid, and you haven't irritated any membrane, because this is all happening inside the cells. But of course, what you've got to do is you've got to get the receptors on the cell walls so that you can take the vitamin A through.
Yeah, and we don't store retinoic acid in our skin, so it's not it's not naturally found outside the cell.
Yeah. The body controls, our cells control how much retinoic acid you have, because too much is no good for the cell.
Yeah.
The same thing with retinol. And that's why when you look at the metabolism from the esters through to retinoic acid, it's like the retinol esters are this big storage tank, and they trickle through to retinoic acid. And what I found, which has not been pointed out by other people, is that the bigger your stores, the more retinoic acid you make, because this ratio of 91 to 3 to 3 to 3 is so critical for the cell health.
Yeah, so the bigger your stores of retinol palmitate, the more retinoic acid you'll make. Yeah. And you only store about 3%, all the vitamin A in your skin, about 3% of it is retinoic acid. So very small amount. Yeah. So, and let's talk about retinol, because retinol is the smallest molecule of vitamin A. And generally, when people talk about vitamin A, that's the first thing they think of. They think vitamin A, they think retinol. So we've touched on it.
So actually, when we say it's the smallest molecule of vitamin A, because its structure is the most compact.
Yeah.
It's not actually smallest, because retinaldehyde is a little bit smaller, very slightly. So now the thing is this, that retinol is the basic chemical form of vitamin A, because when you have a look at it in its structure, like its footprint, it's got a six-sided hexagon with a little tail going off on the one side. Now, the thing is this, that is common to all the vitamin A's. What you do is you make slight changes. For example, if you think of retinol, it's about 286 in its molecular weight.
Yeah.
And if you look at retinoic acid, which has got one more oxygen and two less hydrogens, it weighs at 300. So they're very, very similar. And so retinol is the sort of basic structure. Everything else is addressed around the retinol.
And retinol is the alcohol form of vitamin A, and it's the way that it's transported, vitamin A is transported in our blood in that form. And then in our skin, it also makes up only 3% of the total amount of vitamin A in our skin. So very little, and it's toxic at higher levels to our cell walls.
Well, we know that if you use too strong a retinoic acid product, you will make a little hole in the skin. Not a little hole, you know, they did this. And if you did retinol at too high a dose, you would also get some ulceration of your skin. So that's why the dose is very important to control.
One of my questions later on. And, you know, a lot of people, when they start retinol, they experience peeling. So is the peeling, is that the toxicity on that cell wall in the beginning until you make more vitamin A receptors?
And the retinoid reaction, because you mustn't forget that when you start topical vitamin A, you generally have got photo-damaged skin. And so you don't have all the receptors on the outside of the cell wall. So you collect a lot of vitamin A outside the cell. And there it acts as a chemical irritant. And that's also partly why you get the peeling. But
and I was quite shocked to read that, you know, from about the age of 15, we have this radical depletion of our vitamin A receptors.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And that's also why young children don't have any problem taking on vitamin A creams. They can put on the strongest cream quite easily.
I've tried that with my kids, and it absolutely is true. And Des, retinol is also, you know, to manufacture it in a cream, it's a very unstable form of vitamin A.
It's not a pleasant form to work with. We have to do certain things. To keep it nice and stable, to prevent it from breaking down. So it's not that sensitive to light as, say, for example, retinol palmitate is.
Yeah.
But it's still sensitive to light, and it is still sensitive to excess oxygen or to water. So that's why we need to control how we work with it very well. You know, the other thing is this, that it's not nearly as stable as retinol palmitate. Yeah. That's why look at our retinol products. They've got a shelf life of 12 months. You look at other companies' retinol products, and you think that they've probably got a trick where they can keep the retinol more active than we can. And that's why they have 3 years on their product. No, it's just that they don't care that you're not getting as close to the amount of retinol that I put in the beginning that I want you to use on your